You also see on this picture the alternative route to the southern route through the Suez and that way to the Far East, and it gives you an impression where the tipping point is when you are looking at distances where this can be profitable distance-wise or not. But I also would like to state that you should be careful not to be trapped in the present by only looking on traffic patterns as they look today. Because if you place a highway, or a marine highway in this case, infrastructure will normally follow. And therefore it is not, changing of sea routes could actually also change trade patterns and the way that we actually relate with each other on the commercial side. Seen from a military perspective, you could say that, well, it doesn't matter when this happens, because we need to be prepared as best as we can in order to be able to conduct or to do this traffic in a safe way. And let me tell you, it's a huge challenge on the very, very low practical side in order to bring in place in such a remote area all the necessary tools in order to make traffic being conducted in a safe way. Let me just remind you of a small detail. None of this area is actually surveyed for hydrographical survey, so you don't know where you can actually sail or not. Those of you who travels in your own boats know that it can be quite hampering that you don't know where you can sail actually, and I think the only one that actually knows how the seabed is looking in the Arctic is probably Russia and United States and United Kingdom, due to the fact that they have been traveling up there with submarines for some years. But I don't think that you can buy their charts in a shop if you want to go that way. So you need to invest a lot of money in making this survey, so to make this survey in order to conduct this traffic. And there's a lot of other practical issues that you need to take care of, and I will allude to those a little later. This picture has been shown, and of course this is the very big question: who owns the Arctic? And that is a process that is going on right now. And I'll just show this map that also have been shown in various colors today, in order to give an impression of the complexity of this. But I think the important thing about this is that this is a complex process that right now is going according to the UN UNCLOS that has been alluded to a couple of times earlier, and that means that the bordering countries have to give in their evidence for their claims to the polar area no later than 10 years after they have ratified the UNCLOS. For Denmark, that means that we need to give in our data, our scientific data, to the UN before 2014. I think Canada is 2013, and I think Norway have actually delivered their data already in 2006. And then the big question is, when do United States deliver their data, because they haven't ratified the UNCLOS yet, as we have heard earlier on today. But I think it was good to hear that there is positive indications that would happen soon. But I think the good news here is that people or the countries is actually following, at least for now, the rules of the UNCLOS for this. So you can mean what you want about UNCLOS, and it has a lot of flaws and insufficiencies, but it's the best we have, and actually people or the country is following it right now. Of course, this is not only a matter of sea routes; it's also a matter of resources, and therefore there's a lot of things at stake when it comes to this negotiation. And the big question is everybody willing to accept the final verdict from the UN when the cake is sliced, so to speak? We have also heard about Hans Island a couple of times, and with the risk of insulting the diplomatic relations between Canada and Denmark, I would like to give a suggestion why Hans Islands is actually interesting for Canada and Denmark at this time. Because I think the interesting thing about Hans Islands is actually that the dispute about Hans Island has actually existed ever since the late 70s. So since the late 70s, Denmark and Canada has actually agreed to disagree about the borderline on Hans Island, which is approximately a 1 square kilometer rock that is 200 meter high, and on a good day you can stand on the top of it and see Canada on one side and Greenland on the other side. There's absolutely no indication that there would be any resources, whatever, around this rock. And the good question that was raised by Klaus was then, why on earth is that conflict then popping up now? And if you ask me, and I have to stress here that this is definitely not the position of the Danish Defence Forces, but a private opinion, it is because Canada wants to send a message and Denmark wants to send a message to the other countries in the area. Because this is the reason why this pops up a couple of years ago is actually, if you ask me, because that the Arctic issue has been a very high prioritized issue on the domestic side in Canada. Actually, you could argue that the present government in Canada, to a large extent, is elected on its attitude towards the Arctic. And I don't say this with any value; it's just a mere fact. And therefore, you will have to send a message to your own people when it comes to a dispute like this. And for Denmark's sake, it is probably a message that don't mess with us. We also want this island, and that is basically the logic about states when they have to interact about issues like this. The good story here also is that it is now again agreed to disagree, and it is back in the UN, and I think it will be determined based on scientific data who is in connection with this island. And I don't think it is a catastrophe for any of us if we lose this island. But I think the interesting part of it is why on earth does it pop up right now? And it gives a little precursor on the flavor that you can expect when the big slice the big cake has to be sliced when it comes to the division of the Arctic. Just as a small peculiarity, there's actually cruising ships that is announcing now that they make trips to Hans Island, and I will just tell you that it is not an easy thing to sail up there, and you can actually be trapped in the ice very easily if you're not very, very careful. And the Danish Navy has 300 years of experience sailing up there, but if a cruising ship is catched in the ice with, let's say, 2,000 passengers, it's a big deal.